investigation of your connection with Jeffrey Epstein?
December 19, 2025, the Department of Justice releases thousands of files on Jeffrey Epstein, and there's one photo that stops everyone cold. A former president of the United States, shirtless, in a hot tub, with a woman whose face is blacked out. The Department of Justice later confirms that woman is an Epstein victim. The president's name? Bill Clinton. But that's just one photo. Because when you go through these files, Clinton's name is everywhere. More than Trump, more than Prince Andrew, more than anyone. 26 flights on Epstein's private jet between 2002 and 2003. Photos in swimming pools with Ghislaine Maxwell, the woman now serving 20 years for sex trafficking. Photos on private planes with unidentified women sitting on his lap. And a witness, Kevin Spacey, who admits there were young girls on the flights with Clinton and Epstein. For years, Clinton said his relationship with Epstein was strictly professional. Just Clinton Foundation work, nothing personal. But these photos, they tell a very different story. This is the Epstein Files, Episode 2, and you're about to see documents, photos, and testimony that Bill Clinton has spent years trying to avoid. This isn't about politics. This is about evidence. So let's look at what actually happened. Dozens of photos. Hot tub, swimming pool, private plane, Ghislaine Maxwell at his side. For years, Clinton has said his relationship with Epstein was strictly professional. Clinton Foundation work, humanitarian trips, nothing personal. But these photos tell a very different story.
I think it's terrible. Look, I like Bill Clinton. I've always gotten along with Bill Clinton. I've been nice to him. He's been nice to me. We've always gotten along. Respect him. I hate to see photos come out of him.
So let's look at what we actually know. Not the spin, not the excuses, the evidence. Palm Beach, Florida. Jeffrey Epstein attends a fundraising dinner for Bill Clinton's re-election campaign, hosted by billionaire Ronald Perelman. About a dozen people there. This is the earliest confirmed connection we have between them. 1 year later, 1996, Epstein donates $20,000 to the Democratic National Committee. Not a huge amount, but it's the beginning of something. Because over the next 7 years, Epstein and Clinton would become close. Fast forward to Clinton's presidency. White House visitor logs show Jeffrey Epstein visited the White House multiple times while Clinton was president. Not once, not twice, multiple times. What were they discussing? We don't know. The logs don't say. But this wasn't a distant acquaintance. This was someone with access to the President of the United States. Then Clinton leaves office in 2001. And that's when things get really interesting. Bill Clinton needs to travel internationally for his Clinton Foundation. AIDS work, economic development, humanitarian missions, and who offers him his private plane? Jeffrey Epstein. Now, Clinton's spokesman will tell you he took 4 trips on Epstein's plane. 4 trips. That's the official story. But flight logs tell a different story. Flight logs show Clinton's name on at least 26 to 27 flights between 2002 and 2003. Not 4 trips, 26 flights. Why the discrepancy? Well, Clinton's team argues that one trip could include multiple flights with stops. So technically, they're both right. But that semantic game hides the real question. Why was a former president flying on the private plane of a man who would later be convicted as a sex offender? Let me tell you about one specific trip. September 2002. Clinton, actors Kevin Spacey and Chris Tucker, and others board Epstein's Boeing 727, nicknamed the Lolita Express by locals in the Virgin Islands. They're going to Africa. 9-day humanitarian trip. Ghana, Nigeria, Rwanda, Mozambique, South Africa. Visiting HIV/AIDS projects. Sounds noble, right? But here's what Kevin Spacey said about that trip in a 2024 interview with Piers Morgan. Spacey admitted he was on Epstein's plane with Clinton, and he said something disturbing. There were these young girls on the flights. Not women, girls. Spacey said he didn't want to be around this guy because Epstein put the president at risk. At risk of what, Kevin? Now, to be clear, Spacey claimed he didn't know who Epstein was at the time. He said Clinton invited him, and he only found out later whose plane it was. But the question remains, who were these young girls on the plane? And that 2002 Africa trip? It accounted for 11 of the 26 total flights Clinton took on Epstein's plane. During that trip, they stopped in London. Clinton gave a speech to the Labour Party conference, and he was photographed at the Churchill War Rooms. Guess who's in the photo with him? Ghislaine Maxwell. Not Epstein himself. Maxwell, the woman who would later be convicted of recruiting underage girls for Epstein. The woman now serving 20 years in prison for sex trafficking. She's right there in London with Clinton. Now let's talk about what Clinton says versus what the documents show. Clinton's spokesperson, Angel Uriña, released a statement after Epstein's 2019 arrest. He said Clinton knew nothing about Epstein's crimes, that Clinton never visited Epstein's island, never visited his New Mexico ranch, never visited his Palm Beach home, only the plane trips for foundation work. That's it. But the photos released in December 2025 complicate that story because there's Bill Clinton in a hot tub, shirtless, with a woman whose face is redacted. Another photo, Clinton in a swimming pool with Ghislaine Maxwell and another redacted woman. Another photo, Clinton on a private plane with a woman sitting close to him, arm around him, face redacted. Another photo, Clinton sitting at a table with a woman sitting on his lap, face redacted. Now, the Department of Justice redacted these faces for a reason. Under the EPSTEIN Files Transparency Act, they're only supposed to redact victims or minors. So who are these women? A DOJ spokesperson, Gates McGavick, posted on social media that the redacted person in the hot tub photo is a victim of Epstein's abuse. So Bill Clinton was in a hot tub with one of Epstein's victims. When was this photo taken? We don't know. The photos are undated. Where was it taken? We don't know. No context provided. But it happened. And then there's the photo of Clinton in the swimming pool with Ghislaine Maxwell. Maxwell, who in August 2025 told the Department of Justice that Clinton was her friend, not Epstein's. She claimed Clinton absolutely never went to Epstein's island, that Clinton didn't have an independent friendship with Epstein. So, according to Maxwell, she was the connection between Clinton and Epstein. But if that's true, why was Clinton so comfortable around Maxwell, the woman who recruited teenage girls? Let's talk about the island. Little St. James, Epstein's private island in the U.S. Virgin Islands, nicknamed Pedophile Island. This is where much of the abuse took place. Dozens of underage girls trafficked there, abused, exploited. Clinton says he never went there. Trump has claimed Clinton went to the island 26 times or 28 times. Trump's own chief of staff, Susie Wiles, said in a December 2025 interview that there is no evidence Clinton visited the island. So did Clinton go to the island or not? We don't have flight logs showing Clinton landing on the island, but we do have flight logs showing him on Epstein's plane 26 times. Where did those planes go? Some we know, Africa, Europe, Asia, but all of them? Virginia Giuffre, one of Epstein's most vocal accusers before her death in April 2025, never accused Clinton of abuse, never said he was on the island. But here's what we do know. Epstein's pilot testified during Ghislaine Maxwell's trial that he saw Clinton on the plane multiple times. And the photos show Clinton wasn't just tolerating these trips. He looked comfortable. Clinton flies on Epstein's plane one more time. After that, according to his spokesperson, Clinton and Epstein stopped speaking. Why? Clinton's team says he cut ties before Epstein's crimes came to light. But Epstein wasn't charged until 2008, and he'd been under investigation since 2005. So if Clinton cut ties in 2003, why did he contribute to Epstein's 50th birthday book that same year? Yes, Clinton wrote a message in a birthday greeting album that Ghislaine Maxwell compiled for Epstein's 50th birthday in 2003. The Wall Street Journal reported in July 2025 that Clinton's handwritten note read, "It's reassuring, isn't it, to have lasted as long, across all the years of learning and knowing, adventures and illegible word, and also to have your childlike curiosity, the drive to make a difference, and the solace of friends." The solace of friends. That doesn't sound like someone keeping their distance. That sounds like friendship. But let's give Clinton the benefit of the doubt for a moment. Maybe he genuinely didn't know what Epstein was doing. Maybe all the trips really were just foundation work. Maybe the photos are out of context. Except for one thing. The same year Clinton was flying around the world with Epstein. In New York Magazine, journalist James B. Stewart writes a profile on Epstein, and he quotes Clinton through a spokesman. Jeffrey is both a highly successful financier and a committed philanthropist with a keen sense of global markets and an in-depth knowledge of 21st century science. I especially appreciated his insights and generosity during the recent trip to Africa. So Clinton wasn't just tolerating Epstein, he was praising him, publicly. Insights and generosity. This is 2002, 7 years before Epstein's 2019 arrest, but only 3 years before the 2005 Palm Beach police investigation that would expose everything. Let's talk about what happened after Epstein was arrested. Epstein pleads guilty to state prostitution charges in Florida. He gets an outrageously lenient deal. 18 months in a county jail with work release privileges. Clinton says nothing publicly. Epstein is arrested again. Federal charges, sex trafficking of minors. Clinton's office releases a statement. President Clinton knows nothing about the terrible crimes Jeffrey Epstein pleaded guilty to in Florida some years ago, or those with which he has been recently charged in New York. But that statement has a problem, because Clinton's connection to Epstein was public knowledge since at least 2002. Flight logs were released in 2016. Everyone knew Clinton had flown on Epstein's plane. So why the defensive statement? August 2019. Epstein dies by apparent suicide in his Manhattan jail cell. Conspiracy theories explode. Clinton had him killed. Trump had him killed. Both sides pointing fingers. But here's what we actually know. An internal Department of Justice memo from July 2025 found no evidence Epstein blackmailed anyone. No evidence of a client list. No evidence he was murdered. The investigation concluded suicide. But the public doesn't believe it, and the Clintons become the focus of conspiracy theories. The EPSTEIN Files Transparency Act passes Congress. Bipartisan. Trump signs it. The law requires the Department of Justice to release all files related to Epstein. December 19, 2025. The files drop, and Bill Clinton is everywhere. More photos of Clinton than anyone else. Hot tub, pool, plane, with Maxwell, with redacted women. Trump's White House immediately seizes on this. White House spokeswoman Abigail Jackson posts photos of Clinton in the hot tub and writes, "Per the Epstein Files Transparency Act, DOJ was specifically instructed only to redact the faces of victims and/or minors." Translation: if the faces are redacted, these might be victims or minors. Trump himself posts on Truth Social, calling for investigations into Jeffrey Epstein's involvement and relationship with Bill Clinton, Larry Summers, and many other people. Notice Trump doesn't call for an investigation into himself, only into Clinton and Epstein's Democrat friends. So where does this leave us? The facts that Bill Clinton flew on Jeffrey Epstein's private plane at least 26 times between 2002 and 2003. Clinton was photographed in a hot tub with a confirmed Epstein victim. Clinton was photographed swimming with Ghislaine Maxwell, the convicted sex trafficker. Clinton wrote a warm birthday message to Epstein in 2003. Clinton publicly praised Epstein's insights and generosity in 2002. Epstein visited the White House multiple times during Clinton's presidency. Kevin Spacey says there were young girls on the Africa trip with Clinton and Epstein. Now, to be clear, Clinton has never been charged with any crime related to Epstein. He's never been accused of abuse by any of Epstein's victims. Virginia Giuffre, who accused Prince Andrew, never accused Clinton. The DOJ's 2025 review found no evidence to predicate an investigation against uncharged third parties, which includes Clinton. But the optics are devastating. Because these aren't just a few grainy photos from 20 years ago, as Clinton's spokesman claims. This is a pattern. Fundraiser in 1995. Donation in 1996. White House visits during presidency. Plane trips for years. Birthday message. Public praise. This was a relationship. And here's the question nobody wants to ask. If Clinton genuinely knew nothing about Epstein's crimes, how? How do you fly on someone's plane 26 times and not notice anything strange? How do you spend time in hot tubs and swimming pools with him and his friends and not wonder who these young women are? How do you accept his insights and generosity and not ask where the money comes from? Clinton's defenders will say he was naive, that Epstein fooled everyone, that powerful men like Clinton are too busy to vet every billionaire philanthropist who offers help. Maybe. But Spacey noticed the young girls. He said Epstein put the president at risk. So Spacey knew something was off. But Clinton didn't? December 21st, 2025. Senator Tim Kaine, a Democrat, goes on Meet the Press, and he's asked whether Clinton owes the public an explanation. Kaine's response? If there are unanswered questions, you know, he should address them, and I suspect he will. Even a fellow Democrat is saying Clinton needs to answer questions, but Clinton hasn't. His spokesman released a statement attacking Trump's administration for shielding themselves from what comes next. No explanation of the hot tub photo. No explanation of the pool photo. No explanation of why he praised Epstein publicly. Just deflection. And Trump's administration is happy to keep the focus on Clinton because it distracts from Trump's own Epstein connections. The 1992 party, the emails, the "he knew about the girls" comment, both sides pointing fingers, both sides deflecting. But here's the thing about the Epstein case. It's not about left versus right, Democrat versus Republican. It's about power, wealth, access. Epstein cultivated relationships with powerful people on both sides. Clinton, Trump, Prince Andrew, Bill Gates, Larry Summers. He wasn't political. He was strategic, and he used those relationships for protection. For years, Epstein got away with his crimes because powerful people looked the other way. The 2008 plea deal that gave him 18 months, that happened because powerful people intervened. The fact that he was allowed to continue his philanthropy and hobnob with the elite even after being a registered sex offender, that happened because powerful people enabled it. And Bill Clinton was one of those people. Maybe Clinton genuinely didn't know, maybe he was duped, but at minimum, he showed extraordinarily poor judgment. At maximum, well, that's what people want to know. The December 2025 file release was supposed to give us answers. Instead, it gave us more questions. Where are the witness interviews, the FBI memos, the draft indictments? Why are 199 pages of grand jury testimony completely redacted? Who are the 20 rich and powerful men that Congressman Massey says the survivors' lawyers have told him about? Clinton's name is all over these files, but so are gaps, redactions, missing context. And that's what makes this so frustrating. We have photos, we have flight logs, we have public statements, but we don't have the full story. And until we do, the questions will keep coming. What did Clinton know? When did he know it? Why did he stay friends with Epstein for so long? And why won't he answer these questions directly? I'll be covering this story as more files come out. If you want updates, subscribe and turn on notifications. Drop a comment. Do you think Clinton owes the public an explanation? Or are these photos being taken out of context? Because one thing's for sure, the more we learn about Epstein's world, the more uncomfortable it gets for a lot of powerful people. And Bill Clinton is at the center of it. Thanks for watching. See you in episode 3.